Good morning, YouTube. Well, we've made some progress. I got the breaker box set up on its stand. We've organized the plumbing and whatnot, and we're fixing to finish up plumbing the Christmas tree down to the pond and the house. And yeah, we're almost ready for the water well guy to show up and do his thing with the water well. Once he goes and installs the pump and his wiring over here, we can start pumping water. So it's nice and early on a Sunday morning. Let's get to work. Now we're going to try putting the barbed fitting into the slip transition on, so we can get this down into the pond working. Take the little cap out. Now in the past I've used a torch to heat this stuff up, make it pliable. And I got the great idea one day, hey, let's do soap. And it worked. It worked real well. Just a little dab. That's all it takes. Be sure and, get it all fully covered in there so everything's all nice and slippery. You got to lube up both sides. And let's see how this goes. Uh-oh. That wasn't good. Okay. Getting a good hold on it after you got soap on your fingers is a bit of a problem. But now that it's in a couple of rings, popping it a little harder. In fact, let me go get a 2x4, a little scrap. And bingo, it is all the way on there now. Let me go get I think I've got some hose clamps for that size. Okay, now we're going to go and put a clamp on here, just to make sure it's not going to come apart under pressure. Probably never would, but with my luck, you never know. So this is just a little extra added insurance. I hate slotted screws. There we go, almost there. Almost there. There we go. And it's on. I don't think that's coming off anytime soon. Now we got to go and pull the pipe back even with the connector, and we'll go and hook it up to the tank. Now we're about to go and hook up the last leg for what goes down to the pond. This will take water out of the tank or the pump and take it straight down to the pond. So, I'm gonna prime these just a little more since they've been dried for a while. Put a little glue on it. Pretty soon this part of the project will be done. That's one end. Oh shit. I can't believe I just did that. Gotta hold it for about 15 seconds. Otherwise it'll push itself apart, which is never a good thing. Gonna go and prime this up again. Now I've got purple stuff all over my knee. Mrs. P will be pleased. Okay, let's get this tightened up. All right. And a little bit of glue. See if I can keep from spilling this stuff. Because once this is in, it's pretty much permanent. That's it. The tension ought to keep it together. There we go. We got the overflow drain done. This is the overflow, and this is the main water feed to the pond. So now the pond has water. Well, when the pump gets going, that is. Speaking of which, I think I need to lay in the line that goes to the pump. So that's what's going next. Now we're going to connect in where the water well actually comes into all of this stuff. Just a little more here, just because. I'll put that over there so I don't spill it. Glue on that end. Oops. Got to do the inside of this. Little glue here, little glue there. All the way there. Fully seated. And there. Now we've got a pipe going back to the pump. This we're going to do later because this is going to be for the house. And that's, right now, it's much lower priority because it's just a secondary water well for that. But yeah, we're getting a lot closer. Next, we're going to do the electric. Going to hook this stuff up so that the pump has power. I run these cables in here. Here's my feed line, and here's the one going down to the edge of the pond. I'll strip them down and hook them up. I'm going to start this with a razor blade. Make it easier to split. Okay, I think we're about done with this side. Well, that's where everything is coming out down in the pond. We haven't filled in the trench yet because I'm not sure if I'm finished down there. I think I want to go and put a vertical pipe on the end of this little deal right here so that the water goes straight up. And I've got to go and hook some air line to that smaller line. See the little smaller line right there? That's got to go off into the middle of the pond for a giant air stone. But we're getting there, slowly but surely. Down here in the foreground, if you can see it, that's the overflow pipe. That's where the water is going to be coming into the pond from that trench, the tank, and the water well right up there. And here you can see a view of our artificial reef with a bunch of recycled concrete that was from the bottom of a bunch of fence posts. And as you can see, that's where the water comes into the pond, and there's the new well and the tank. Now we're about to do the electric end at the house. I've gone and dug a little trench, run my flexible conduit up in here, and I'm getting ready to hook it up to the breaker. That's good and tight. Now, while I've got the box dead, we've got dirt daubers. Stupid bugs. They make their nests in the worst places. There we go. That's a big dirt dauber nest. And he was right between the contacts with about less than 1/4 of an inch of space left. That could have been bad. Stuff like that will cause an electrical fire, and you'll be left wondering why. We have lots of scorpions, lots of yellow jackets, wasps, scorpions. Did I mention we have scorpions? We have lots of scorpions. Okay, that's all on. That's working. I'm fixing to turn the power back on. Well, actually, you know what? I ought to put the cover back on first. Let's put the cover back on. Now, since I went and put 2 new breakers in there, or actually 2 slots for 220 breaker, I'm going to have to go and pop these out. There we go. There we go. 2 new slots cut. There we go. Right over the breakers. And let's put the screws in. That's good. Now, I'm going to flip the power back onto the house, but I'm going to leave the power off down to the pump. And voila, I heard the hot tub start up, so we now have power to the house, but the breaker's off to the pump. Next, we're going to take this put it over here. And give us a faucet. And if I can get it to cooperate. That's next. Now we're about to do the same trick that we did with the unions and go and lube everything up with a little bit of dishwashing soap. Make it all slippery so it'll slip together. Doesn't take much. Okay. Yeah. Where's my little 2x4? There it is. And there we go. I think that'll work. I'm going to go ahead and, just for a little extra insurance, put a hose clamp on it. There we go. We're on. Now, I need to affix this to the post. I think I'm going to wait till later for that. But at least we got a faucet on there. That'll work so far. We now have a faucet from the pond pump up here. I chose to use flexible conduit on this because I'm probably going to move it, maybe, someday in the near future. Well, it might help if I had power. Now that I have my 250-foot extension cord hooked up, we can cut this. There we go. That's ready to install. Now we're going to feed our wire up through into our new box. That's about all I should need. And run our tubing up to it. There we go. Now we're ready to go in the breaker box. Next, we're going to pop out this little knockout to install our fitting so we can get the conduit inside the box. Just a couple light taps. Maybe not so light. There we go. It's starting to come loose. Just got to wedge it back and forth a little bit, and it'll eventually pop right off. Of course, I say that, and it's not popping off. Well, it's loose, but not coming apart. I can always try this. Get a bigger hammer. Here we go. Drop it down the hole just because the trash can's too far away. That fitting will fit in there just nice, and I'll have a little nut to put it on, and we'll be good to go. Here we go. Fish the wire up through the hole. There we go. I can get it to bend enough for me. There we go. We're in the hole. Right where I needed to be. Now, just slip this little nut in place. Get the thread started. Get it in there nice and tight. Just for a little extra measure, take a screwdriver and tap it about another quarter to a half turn. And we are tight. That's going to work. Next, I'll be wiring it up to the breaker and the rest of this. Now we're going to hook up our outlets to the breaker. Now, I always go and take it to the longest that I need it, cut that first, kind of measure it out on the ground block, since that's usually the longest wire. And then we get to strip off this installation. Okay, now I'm going to wire this up. It does matter which side the white wire and the black wire goes to. And when you're doing GFCIs, one side of this is for other outlets and things down the line, and one side feeds it. It's important that you don't get them mixed up. Okay, now I need to attach the ground down here on the bottom. Get the ground good and tight. And I have purposely left these wires a little long because I know that I will probably come back in here sometime soon and change this up. Thinking very seriously about installing an RV hookup down here, just to make it easy for our friends that show up with campers. They can have power and water down by the pond. Now I need my screwdriver, my electric screwdriver. Don't want to tighten it up all the way until I get the other one in. There we go. Excuse me. Uh-oh. I stripped it. Well, I'm going to have to take that out with a pair of pliers. I hate cheap Chinese screws. I really do. Well, now I'm back with a regular screwdriver, good old Phillips head. And just for safety, I went and put a little bit of soap on this other screw. I had all sorts of fun getting that boogered screw out of there. Come to find out, it had some boogered threads about halfway up. So even if I'd used a regular screwdriver, I don't think I would have gotten it all the way in. Still having fun with it. Boy, this is a long screw. Get all the holes lined up. So I can get the cover on with it, no problems. Here we go. Okay, now we're ready for the cover. Since we've only got one outlet in here right now, we're using one thing to hold it on. Get it all lined up in the little hole. Get a few threads started before moving on to the next one. Don't want to tighten everything up until you get everything, get all the screws in. There we go. Kind of wiggle it a little, get it all lined up. There we go. The cover is now on. Here in a day or two, I'll come back and install the other outlet that's going to go in here. And just for fun, I brought an old work light down here, plug it in, see if we got power. I turned the power on up at the house, so we have a live box here. Now let's see what happens when I turn the breaker on. Okay, let's turn the lights on. Hey, look at that. We have light. We now have electricity down at the pond. I'm excited. Now we're ready for Harvey's water wells to come back and install our pump. So the electric and most of the water's done. I am so happy. It's official. We have power at the pond now. Now I can use lights so I can work around everything outside at night. Woohoo! Power at the wellhead.